People, LP2000 right back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back, welcome back to another edition of Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Collect All Monsters. And I'm back again with another X Plus awesome figure review, a colorful one at that. So you already clicked the title, you know exactly who we're covering here in this review. So without further ado, let's dive head first, or kamikaze dive head first, into this awesome X Plus figure review. And today we're taking a look at the X Plus 25cm standard edition of Mothra 1992, based off her super cool appearance in the fourth Godzilla Heisei flick, Godzilla vs. Mothra, aka Godzilla and Mothra, the battle for Earth. And she is beautiful. Yes, it is, despite the fact that it's coming from a Godzilla film that's not one of my favorites. More on that later. But this is such super cool figure. It really is. You know, I'm going to do things right here. Let's get up close and personal with the box before we get into the figure itself, the colorful figure itself. And yes, colorful is a word that you're going to hear a lot during the course of this video. And here's a picture of the box. Just standard fare when it comes to 25cm Mothra boxes. With the, with the silhouette of Mothra. It's like an overhead shot of Mothra, really. Mothra 1992, the Japanese text of the 25cm scale is embedded in the middle of Mothra, you know. But once again, this box is really no different than the 61 Mothra box or the 64 Mothra box, you know. And this one's is following suit here. But nothing really too extravagant with the box, and more likely will be trash before it's all said and done. But that's a picture of the box. So it's not about the box. Let's talk about the figure. Yes, Mothra 1992 from Godzilla vs. Mothra. Not Mothra vs. Godzilla. There's a difference. There is a difference. And let's go into the backstory with this figure. It's not really a long one, quite frankly. It's not really a twisty, curvy type of road to get this figure like some figures have. It's really kind of cut and dry and straightforward. The first time we ever saw this figure, at least knew that it was coming, was at the Super Festival 84 show that happened last year in September of 2020. And that show was noteworthy for a few things. It's the first time that we saw the Gigantic series / favorite sculptors line, Gigantic 54 Godzilla, that just came out recently, and I got a review. It's in the archives of the channel. Please check it out. We saw a prototype of the unpainted prototype of the Death of Biollante, which should be shipping right now at the time of this recording. It is August 29th, 2021, and the Death of Biollante should be on her way from Japan as we speak. That was showcased there for the first time. And on a display card, they had an unpainted prototype version of this Mothra here. And truth be told, this is really a big figure release, and a monumental one at that, if you really think about it. Because with this figure coming out now, this was actually the last remaining representation from a major era of Mothra that we don't have. And now, basically, every era is covered. Showa, Heisei, Millennium, and even Monsterverse, right? And she's the third monster out of the big five to have every representation from X Plus represented by the eras. You know, Godzilla and Mechagodzilla are the other two. Now, the only two monsters besides that we don't have ever representation of is, of course, King Ghidorah and Rodan. We don't have a Heisei version of King Ghidorah yet from X Plus. We know Mecha King Ghidorah is coming, but we don't know when. And we don't have a Final Wars Rodan just yet from X Plus. But aside from that, Mothra, Mecha Godzilla, and Godzilla has every era represented, and that's cool, you know. And once again, we first saw pictures of this girl. I was gonna say guy, but this girl on a display card at that show, Super Festival '84, and it came up for pre-order February of 2021, and is now getting to collectors' hands like mid-August 2021. So that's the backstory. Now, of course, this is the standard. The Rit comes with the light-up gimmick that's in her eyes here. But I just wanted Mothra, you know. It would have been cool to get the Rit, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it wasn't a light gimmick or a light-up feature that I necessarily really needed, quite frankly. Really, it's just Mothra that I needed, you know. So me going standard wasn't really a big deal for me. And that's basically the backstory with me getting this figure and how we got this figure. Once again, it wasn't really a long backstory like we have seen with other figure releases before. So once again, it was cut and dry, straight to the point, which is what I like. So let's get straight to the point and let's get into up close and personal with the 25 centimeter standard edition of Mothra 1992. And it is a gorgeous figure. Right off the bat, it is a gorgeous figure. The colors are off the charts. It's popping pretty much everywhere, and that's great. Now, before we get into the monster itself, let's cover the base first, okay? Because the base is really, really interesting. Now, this base is detailed really well. And on the front of the base, you have the iconic Mothra symbol, you know, the cross with the lines going in every direction, away from the cross, you know, whatever. And it looks good. We've seen this before. Like, I think the 61 Mothra has a smaller version of the Mothra symbol in her base. I think the Mothra 1964 X Plus USA version has a symbol of Mothra in the base as well. But this is so cool. This is so cool with the Mothra symbol in the front of the base. And on the back of the base, you have a partially buried, excuse me, egg. You know, the egg of Mothra that we do see in the film 1992's Godzilla vs. Mothra, and it's partially buried. Now, I know some folks are probably wondering, why did they give us a partially buried egg versus giving us a full-fledged egg like what came with the 1964 Mothra 25 centimeter figure from X Plus, right? And what I think is the fact that when you think about both movies, Mothra vs. Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Mothra, in '64, the egg was a prominent piece in the story. It was an integral piece of the story. So it makes sense for the '64 version of Mothra from X Plus, where the egg is like a separate piece, because once again, it was an important part of the story. Everything really came back to the egg when it came to Mothra vs. Godzilla. But in Godzilla vs. Mothra, even though the egg does make an appearance, it didn't play like a major role like the '64 egg did, you know? And plus, I think X Plus didn't want to do just a straight up copy of the '64 egg, and they just want to do something different. And that's why it's partially buried here, which I think was a good thing. But I think that's the reason why it's partially buried, like I said, to do something different, and for the fact that the '92 egg didn't really have a major impact on the story like the '64 egg did. That's what I think. But what's so cool about the base here is that, yes, I believe the Mothra symbol is the front of the base, but if you want to, you can have her displayed with the symbol in front, or you could just twist the base around and have the egg in front. You know, it's really up to your choosing, but I like that, where you have like a dual side base where either side would work, and you can choose how you want to display her. And I think that's a great thing. But the base is great. Like I said, the iconic Mothra symbol, the rubble, the partially buried egg, you know, whatever. And when you compare this egg to the '64 egg, it's virtually the same color in a way, but the Mothra egg from '92, the partially buried egg, excuse me, has more enriched colors, which really goes with the figure itself, because this figure of Mothra 92, in my opinion, is the most colorful one that X Plus has ever done, which you'll see in the Mothra comparison later on. But that's it with the base. The base is awesome, you know. Now let's go into the monster itself. Mothra 1992, once again, right off the bat, the main selling point of this figure is the colors. Now, the sculpt is really not a big drastic change from the '64 Mothra. Now, of course, like her legs, for example, her legs are more defined. They're more elaborate, you know, with the chicken feet, you know, whatever. Whereas the '64 Mothra's legs were really scrawny, you know. But the legs here on the 92 Mothra are more defined. Once again, the legs are thick. You know, the chicken style feet at the end of the legs, the yellows, looks really, really good. Sculpted really well. The main body of Mothra with the little orange popping out everywhere, the whites, you know, whatever. It looks really good. The eyes, the blue eyes, oh my God, that's great. And if you look closely into Mothra's eyes, it has like the little small little beads to make the eyes more defined. No different than the Megalon that came out earlier this year, right? Or like the circles in the figures of Jet Jaguar or King Caesar, right? Just the eyes are just awesome. Once again, with the way X Plus applies so much detail into the eyes with the small little beads in there, just to give it a lot more depth, a lot more realism, which is kind of like how the suit looked or the puppet looked in the film anyway. Once again, the eyes, like Megalon, like Jet Jaguar, like King Caesar, just defined eyes. Now I love that, and you're gonna love it too if you got your hands on this girl, or if you're locked in for a pre-order. The antennas, they're great. I don't know if they can move, because I know that the I think the 64 Mothra, you can actually twist her antenna if you want to, but I'm looking at it right now. You can't really twist the antenna here on this Mothra. It's fine, you know, whatever. And I don't think the mouth is articulated. I know some Mothra figures have their mouths articulated. I think the 64 does, I think. But this one you can't really move. But it is what it is. You know, I'm not going to mess with it like that anyway. But the face looks great. The eyes look great. The antennae look great. So that's awesome. Now let's go towards the wing, which is the biggest part of this figure, and which is customary when it comes to Mothra figures. The wings, you know, are the biggest part of these figures. And as you can see here, the colors, once again, this is just an awesome, colorful monster, a colorful figure, which is reminiscent of the puppet in the film. Because by far, I think, outside of the Millennium 2003/2004, I think the 92 Mothra is the most colorful version that Toho has ever put on film. And in my opinion, this is the most colorful Mothra that X Plus has ever done. Once again, you'll see that in the Mothra comparisons later on. But the wings look great with the standard, you know, patterns of the Mothra wings on top, you know, with the blacks, the orange, the yellow, the red orange, you know, whatever. And then like the whites and the orange going towards the base of the main body here. This is great. This is such an amazing Mothra. I really do love it. It's a daggone shame I love the figure more so than the movie itself. But once again, we'll cover that later on. But basically, it's no different than the other Mothras from X Plus that we have seen. You know, the sculpt, like I said, it's not really a drastic change. You know, we have seen the bases like this before somewhat. They just, you know, changed it up a little bit. You know, augmented it a little bit. But the colors on this thing is really the selling point. The colors on this thing is amazing. It's popping. It'll brighten up the room, literally. So this is great. This is such a great version of Mothra, and I highly recommend it. And I can honestly see this figure being in the running of Figure of the Year. If it were up to me at this point, I think the figures that are definitely in the conversation for X Plus Figure of the Year 2021 is Megalon, of course, the Gigantic 54, of course. Maybe Rodan 1956 from the Favorite Sculptors line. That's another one. Certainly Mothra here, you know. At the time of the recording, I think these are the top 4 that's in the running for Figure of the Year. And we're still not done yet. We still got the 25cm Rodan 2019 coming. The Death-Row Biollante, as I mentioned earlier, she's coming. That could be in the running for Figure of the Year. But definitely Mothra 92 is definitely in that conversation. So if you're locked in for a pre-order for this girl, you will love it. You will love this thing. From the base, the sculpt of the base, the partially buried egg, the iconic Mothra symbol, the sculpt of the monster itself, the beautiful wings, the colors just popping everywhere. I think you will love this figure of the 25cm 1992 Mothra. Yes, yes, yes. So you know what? Let's go into at least 2 size comparisons, and then we'll wrap up this review with my final thoughts of this figure. And I mentioned this earlier. You know what? I pretty much have every single Mothra figure that X Plus has ever done. So in this first size comparison, let's bring them all together and let's see how Mothra has evolved over the years with the X Plus representations of this awesome monster. So let's go with that first size comparison. So all the Mothras I have in my collection right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the first size comparison, and yes, all the queens that I have in my collection, courtesy of X Plus, and this is awesome. This is awesome. The various versions or incarnations of the Queen of the Monsters throughout the years. So let's go through them, shall we? Yes, from the far left to the screen right there, we have the original Mothra, the 1961 Mothra, the 25 centimeter version from X Plus, the grandmother of them all, can't say granddaddy. But the one that started it all, yes, the 25 centimeter Mothra in 1961. Then you go right next to her, you have the Death for Real Mothra 2019 from the Monsterverse, courtesy of Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. Down there at the very bottom is a mini Rick accessory that came with the 25 centimeter 1966 Godzilla, with a mini version of the 1966 Mothra that did make an appearance in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, carrying the people to safety. Once again, that's a cool Rick accessory right there, and a cool representation of Mothra. Yes, yes, yes. In the far middle right there, you have the GMK Mothra 25 centimeter from the Favorite Sculptors line from GMK, celebrating her 20th anniversary this year. Of course, in the back, in the middle, the Girl of the Hour, the Woman of the Hour, the 1992 Mothra. And to the far right, from my most favorite Godzilla film of all time, Mothra vs. Godzilla, you have the 25 centimeter 1964 Mothra, and this is great. Once again, Mothra is the third monster of the Big Five to have every representation covered from every major era, courtesy of X Plus, Showa, Heisei, Millennium, even Monsterverse, right? Mothra is the third monster, so now we just need a Mecha King Ghidorah or regular King Ghidorah from the Heisei period, and a Final Wars Rodan, and then we'll have Rodan and King Ghidorah covered. But this is cool to have, you know, another monster of the Big Five have every representation covered from every era, major era from the Godzilla series, or at least Tokusatsu in general, courtesy of X Plus. And as you can see, Mothra has gone through some changes throughout the years, you know, and this is great. This is a great comparison and great shot right here. So hopefully this will give you an idea if you want to have like a Mothra-like shrine, you know, whatever, and you're locked in to get this new 92 Mothra and you have the other Mothras from X Plus, you can put them all together and have yourself a cool Mothra setup here. And you're probably wondering, which Mothra is my favorite, since I have pretty much all of them, and they're all awesome. They all are amazing. But even though I love the 64 Mothras from my most favorite film, I gotta go with 92 on this one. 92 is my favorite Mothra because of the colors that pop out from her, you know? And as you can see here, nothing against the other Mothras, but the 92 just stands out more because of the colors popping out, and it's just more exuberant. It commands your attention more so than the other Mothras. Nothing against the GMK, the 64, Death for Real 2019, or the original. But for me, in my opinion, I think the 92 is the best one. And I'm so glad to finally have her in my collection. But all the Mothras that X Plus has ever done are awesome. And as far as this year is concerned, 2021, we're not done with Mothra. Because not only this year celebrates the 60th anniversary of Mothra, you know, the 60th anniversary of the film and when she was first unleashed upon the world, but Mondo is doing a 2003 Mothra from Tokyo SOS, which is due to drop in November, and I'm definitely got that on pre-order. I actually paid it off, you know, quite frankly. But that's another Mothra that I'm getting in my collection. I can't wait to pair that Mothra with this Mothra 92 from X Plus and see which one is the better Mothra release of 2021. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But until then, this is such a great comparison of all the Mothras from X Plus, her various incarnations throughout the years, 61, 2019, 64, 92, GMK, 66, and this is great. This is so awesome. Now, so let's go with the final size comparison. You know what? Let's bring up the other two monsters that accompanied Mothra, excuse me, in 1992's Godzilla vs. Mothra, with the 30 centimeter version of Batra from X Plus and the 30 centimeter 1992 Godzilla from X Plus. So let's bring them all together and let's see how all the monsters from this cool film look together, courtesy of X Plus. So let's go with that final size comparison right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the last size comparison, and yes, I bring up the other two monsters that made an appearance along with Mothra in this film of 1992's Godzilla vs. Mothra. Yes, 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 courtesy of X Plus with the 30 centimeter 1992 Godzilla and the larval form 30 centimeter version of Batra, the Dark Mothra. And as you can see here, this is a cool setup. Even though this film may not be one of my favorites, you cannot deny that Putting these three together makes for a killer setup. Now you're probably wondering, for those who are OCD, do these figures size well with each other that's kind of comparable to the movie? And I think they do, despite the fact that Mothra and Godzilla up against Mothra, they're in two different scales, quite frankly. But you got to remember, Godzilla in this era of films, he's bigger, right? Unlike the Showa version of Godzilla going up against Mothra, because in that film in '64, Mothra was so much bigger than Godzilla, twice as big if you really think about it. But in the Heisei films, Godzilla ballooned up to 100 meters tall. So he's a whole lot bigger in comparison to Mothra as he was in the Showa film. So you kind of can't get away with mixing the two figure lines together to create a good setup that's kind of comparable to the monsters of the movie, right? No different than the 25 centimeter second form of Shin Godzilla up against the 30 centimeter third form of Shin. Even though they're in two different scales, they look well together, and once again, it looks very comparable size-wise to the movie. No different here with Godzilla and Mothra and Mothra to a certain extent. But once you put these three together, this is great. You'll have yourself a killer setup here. And obviously, the next monster that I think they should make from this film, because we got Mothra, we got Godzilla, and we have the larval form of Mothra here. I think the next monster they should definitely make is an adult version of Mothra. And can you imagine that? An adult version of Mothra, the Dark Mothra, going up against the original awesome, colorful Mothra right there. That would be a cool setup. So I think that will be the next monster that they should make from this movie, an adult version of Mothra. But until then, this will make for a killer setup. So between this setup, the previous segment where you got all the various incarnations of Mothra from X Plus, and if you're locked in for a pre-order for this girl, you have some great setup opportunities with this version of Mothra, and they're awesome. Even the Sakai 92 Godzilla looks great up against Mothra. You know, he looks great. So whether you have the Sakai 92 Godzilla or the original 30 right here, once again, you have great setup opportunities with this version of Mothra, especially if you're locked in for a pre-order for this awesome figure. Yes, yes, yes. Definitely in the running for Figure of the Year. Alright, so let's zip the size comparison. So let's go with my final commentary portion of the video with my final thoughts of the X Plus 25 centimeter 1992 version of Mothra Standard Edition from Godzilla vs. Mothra. So let's go with that final commentary portion of the video right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the X Plus 25 centimeter Mothra 1992 Standard Edition from Godzilla vs. Mothra, aka Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth. 10 out of 10. This is perfect. The sculpt, the base, the multi-base where you can display it from the front or from the back, you know, whatever, with the iconic Mothra symbol, the partially buried egg, the sculpt of Mothra, the colors of Mothra. This thing is amazing. It is so amazing. Now, I know a lot of people don't really like this version of Mothra because she's too cute or she's too adorable. And I think that's really the main selling point with this version of Mothra. You know what I'm saying? The fact she is so beautiful and she is so colorful and she's so bright and awesome looking. Just an angelic looking monster or figure. And it is so amazing. And to this day, at this point, it is my favorite Mothra collectible in my collection. Nothing against the other Mothra, 64, GMK, 61, Monsterverse. But this one just stands out more so than those. And it's my favorite Mothra collectible to this day. Now, once again, as I mentioned earlier, the Mondo 2003 Mothra is coming out in November. And she looks amazing and colorful. And she may top Mothra 92, but I don't know. But at this point, this is definitely my favorite Mothra collectible in my collection, and with good reason, because she is that awesome. Now let's talk about the film. Now y'all know I have not been too kind to this film over the years. Y'all know that. But you know what? I'm not going to kick the film while it's down. Or at least I'm not going to do my normal shtick by bashing this film or backhand complimenting this film. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you a few things I enjoy about the film, because honestly, there's no Godzilla film that I hate. That I say, you know what, I straight up hate it. I love pretty much every single Godzilla film. Even the 98. And I know I may get some heat for that, but I don't hate that film. I do enjoy it on some levels. Now, just because I don't go back to it often, or at least some Godzilla films I don't go back to too much often, doesn't mean that I hate the film. Once again, I don't hate any Godzilla film. You know, like I said, I have my least favorites or the ones I go back to, you know, not that often. And Mothra 92 is definitely one of them. But once again, there are a few things I enjoy about this film. First and foremost, the look of Mothra. Once again, I love the look of Mothra in this film. Once again, I think some folks don't really care for that, but I do. I love this look of Mothra. Colorful, vibrant, you know, whatever. Even though she may come across like a float you may see in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, but I love this look of Mothra. So that's a great selling point of the film, or strong point, I should say, of the film. Batra. I think Batra was a cool monster. You know, he was kind of like a third wheel in the equation of Godzilla versus Mothra, you know, but kind of like Titanosaurus or King Caesar. You know, the monsters that don't have their name in the title but yet make an appearance in the film. He does have an everlasting impression, you know, a very devastating impression on the film. And I think the film is better because of Batra being in it. So once again, Batra, another strong selling point of this film in 1992. I actually love the Mothra song that's sung in the film, you know. Now, I will always favor the Peanuts version of the Mothra song. And you know what? As a Godzilla fan, you can't tell me that you never hummed or sang that song either to yourself or out loud. I think every Godzilla fan, especially if you're familiar with Mothra and the songs and stuff, I think we've all have sung that song at some point. And even though I do favor the Peanuts version of the song back in the 60s, I have to admit the updated version that we hear in 92, I love that. I really do love that, you know what I'm saying? And another thing I love about this film, I love Godzilla's entrance when he comes from Mount Fuji. Now is, you know, it's very similar to his entrance in Biollante, where he just comes out of the volcano on Mount Mahara. But here he comes out of Mount Fuji. But I think it's done better here in 92. You know, with the fireworks of the volcanic eruption, and it just looks more epic, him coming down, descending from Mount Fuji. Don't get me wrong, I love the Biollante entrance, but I think in 92 it was just done better here. And I actually love the fight scene at the end between all three monsters, because basically before it turns into a 2-on-1 affair with Mothra and Batra teaming up against Godzilla, before then it's like everybody's fighting everybody, and you don't know who's going to win. Mothra fights Godzilla. Mothra fights Batra. Batra fights Godzilla. It's like everybody is fighting everybody. Everybody is trying to take out the other one and see who will be left standing in the end. And I actually like that. Before the team up of Mothra and Batra against Godzilla, which I do enjoy that part of the fight too. But before then, just everybody, just the triple threat, just everybody's going after everybody. I actually love that part of the fight. You know, just the fight in general. I think the fight scene between the three monsters is a great thing in the film. Now, I know some people don't like this film because, in a way, this film kind of catered more towards Mothra. This really more so is a Mothra film than a Godzilla. Godzilla is kind of like a secondary character in this film. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. But at the same time, it's no different than Megalon or Godzilla's Revenge from '69, where Godzilla is in the title. He takes top billing, but he's not the focal point. Once again, he's like a background character, a secondary character. And which is fine. But hey, this film did something right because this was the most financially successful film from the Heisei period. Yes, I know that has a lot to do with Mothra, because a lot of women turned out to see this film because of Mothra. Because Mothra is arguably the second most popular monster in Japan behind Godzilla. But yes, it made more money than 84. More money than Biollante. More money than Destroyer. And those films are looked upon as kind of like the better Heisei movies. But at the end of the day, Mothra 92 made the most money, so it did something right. But once again, just because I don't particularly go back to this movie a lot, and I've not been too kind to this film on my channel, doesn't mean that I hate the film. I don't hate the film. There's some enjoyable moments in the film, sure, but once again, it's not in my top 10. But it's a film that I don't mind going back to every now and then and enjoying some of these awesome moments. So once again, please rewatch Godzilla vs. Mothra 1992, and I think you have a good time. And if you're locked in for a pre-order for this girl, for this monster, for this figure, this excellent, just awesome figure made by X Plus, I think you will enjoy it. And there's no question about that. Yes, yes, yes. So that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus 25cm 1992 standard edition of Mothra from her appearance in the super cool 4th Heisei Godzilla flick, Godzilla vs. Mothra, aka Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth. If you have any questions, holler at me down in the comment section. Hit me on Facebook via Leslie Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes, once again, great figure. I love this thing. Once again, this has got to be in the running for figure of the year. Once again, I think Megalon's in that conversation. I think the Gigantic 54 is in that conversation. I think the Favorite Sculptors Line 56 Rodan is in that conversation. Maybe the Death Row Biolante that we'll get in a few days will be in that conversation. But definitely Mothra is in that conversation for figure of the year. Of X Plus figure of the year, 2021. And if she wins, it wouldn't surprise me because this thing is awesome. And once again, if you're locked in for a pre-order for this girl, you would not be disappointed, especially if you're a Mothra fan. You will love this thing. And as it stands right now, my favorite Mothra collectible in my collection, and that's high praise. And she deserves it because S Plus has done a phenomenal job with this figure. And once you get it in your hands, you will understand that to the fullest. Trust me when I say that. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on the next Figure Move review. All right? Y'all take it easy.
Mothra dengan kasaku yang indomu Mustawilado hamba-hambamu yang tanda penguladan tunjukkanlah kasaku yang hamba-hambamu yang tanda penguladan tunjukkanlah kasaku yang Mothra yang Mothra dengan kasaku yang indomu Mustawilado hamba-hambamu yang tanda penguladan tunjukkanlah kasaku yang Mothra yang Mothra dengan kasaku yang indomu Mustawilado hamba-hambamu yang tanda penguladan